All right, hello, wine-drinking people. Time for more of what I've had to drink yesterday. And our good friend David Arthur Long was just in, and this guy is so much fun. I mean, you can just tell he really enjoys getting out there and drinking wine with people. And, we got some great wine-drinking people here in South Florida. So David's been making a trip here annually. This is the third or fourth event I think we've done with David. And, these wines are not cheap. But, where David's at in Napa Valley, this is the Sirloin Tender Cut, where the top Cabernet, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Malbec, Bordeaux varietals are from. David doesn't like Malbec. I'm sorry to mention that, David, on your video here. But, hey, everyone's got a grape they don't like. I'm not crazy about Zinfandel. And they do a little Sangiovese up there, which I'm usually not crazy about Sangiovese blends. But let me tell you, man, everything these guys make up at David Arthur on Pritchard Hill is outstanding. They were the first people up there. I think Chapelet is the only one before them. And David's father bought the property up there, and, he was wandering around trying to figure out what to do with his life. His brother's an attorney, and he didn't want to go that route. If you ever met David, you see why. And he was actually opened a fondue restaurant in Colorado, Boulder, Colorado, and, he had like a 25-bottle wine list. He was really excited about wine back then. There wasn't a lot of, variety back then like we have today in the world of wine, but 25 bottles was a lot back then. And, the restaurant business is tough. So, it was slow goings at first, and he was sitting there one day drinking because there wasn't many customers in the restaurant. His father called him and said, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm drinking, Dad." And he goes, "Well, what are you drinking?" And he says, "I'm drinking Chapelet Chardonnay." And his dad says, "Dave, that's kind of ironic because, we bought some land up in Napa Valley, right next door to the Chapelets there on Pritchard Hill, and about 900 acres. So I was thinking about maybe planting a vineyard there. You interested in starting a winery with me?" Dave said, "Are you kidding me? I'll be right there." And the rest is history. He's planted vineyards in the late 70s. 85 was their first vintage. And there was a lot of Chardonnay up there at first. And let me tell you, Dave learned really quick, Chardonnay ain't the thing to grow up on Pritchard Hill. But he still likes Chardonnay, so they still have a Chardonnay in the lineup. The rest of the wines are reds. They have Sauvignon Blanc in the lineup, and he's made other things. I think they do a rosé at the winery. But they focus on Bordeaux varietals. The Chardonnay is a blend of oak, knoll, and stagecoach fruit. Only 809 cases produced. They only make just under 5,000 cases total production here. This wine's got a nice amount of ripe tropical fruit in it, nutmeg and cinnamon spice, notes of fresh butter toast, fresh butter popcorn rather, creme brulee, 40% new French oak, just the right amount of oak spice in this wine. And they use 3 different clones, add a little complexity to the blend. A big and fruity Chardonnay on the tongue with a nice smooth creamy texture, a host of that nuance and spice from the nose through the finish. This 2011, excellent. 2012, I would imagine, is going to be a step up. Actually, we had the 2012, and similar in quality right now. I think this wine, just like every other fine wine, needs a little time to come around. The 12, the 11, very forward, very drinkable, just like the reds from that vintage. I had a few bottles of 04 Maritaggio, so I brought those with me just to see how they were tasting. This is a wine that, like I said, Dave didn't like Malbec, so they were, figuring out what he wanted to put in a blend. And he, like me, works best tasting early in the morning. So one morning he woke up at 3:30 in the morning and decided to come up with his blend for this Maritaggio, and someone had sent him a sample bottle of Sangiovese, threw it into the mix, and the rest is history. And he wanted to call it Red Table Wine, and he's not really good at, I guess, naming things, so he consulted with his brother, and his brother came up with his name Maritaggio, which the Meritage Society people weren't really happy with, and they initially said they wanted to take the name off, or they were going to sue him, and they realized at that point, being a really small winery, hey, a lawsuit, and we get some great exposure from this, and I don't think anything ever happened from it. But it's a nice little a catchy name here for a Meritage that's got Sangiovese in it. Basically a Bordeaux-style blend. It's had as little as 5%, and today it has as much as like 25% in the blend. The 2004 showing some evolution here, a nice amount of dark earth. You get a little bit of this Tuscan quality of the Sangiovese coming out in this wine, but definitely Napa Valley, that plum and black cherry fruit, really nice and silky smooth on the tongue. At 10 years old now, this wine really drinking at or near its peak. It'll last another 3 to 5 years easily in your cellar, but some nice earthy qualities of that Pritchard Hill fruit coming through, some dark cocoa spice and herbs. Also an excellent bottle of Maritaggio. The 2009, also really nice. I love this 2009. It's got a lot of forward fruit to it. They're really showy wines right now. Really nice wines to drink, but they've got great structure. They are going to last. The 2011, a blend of 69% Cab and just 10% Sangiovese, and there's some Cab Franc, Petit Verdot, and Merlot in there. Just over 800 cases produced. This was a difficult vintage on the valley floor, but they didn't have a lot of the problems with rain up on top of the hill in places like Pritchard Hill, and this wine's got a lot of fruit in it. Really forward and seductive, these 2011. Some dark cherry, cassis-like fruit. Really nice freshness to this wine. A really nice balance. You get that from Sangiovese, I'm guessing. But nice notes of spice, milk chocolate. Really a nice zesty finish to this wine as well. Excellent juice. And then the Cabernet flights. We had the 3 Acre 07, 09, 2010, and the 2011, which Adriana brought by earlier. I have to say, man, these wines all most excellent. It's hard for me to pick a favorite, but if I was going to right now, maybe the 07. The 07 definitely showing, it's got a little more bottle age, a little softer, but these wines, even though they're drinkable on release, everybody's trying to make wine that you can open up and put in the glass and people can enjoy. But these big Cabernets, like I said, 10 to 15 years old, to me, is really where they drink at their peak, and the 07 starting to show that. The tannin softening up a little bit. The fruit still really bright, and this is only 3 acres. They'll make a lot of this wine here. I think like 500 cases is the production on this wine. Like I said, his whole production under 5,000 cases, but this wine really one of the top-level Cabernets in Napa. And it's cheap compared to his neighbors when you look at everybody else around him other than Chapelet. Bryant family, Colgan is his next-door neighbor, right next to him. Ovid is up there. Tim Mondavi's Continuum. These guys are all $200 to $500, which makes David's Wines looks like a value here. The Elevation 1147, we still have a little bit of the 10, which has got the little red stripe on it, the 25th anniversary label here. And this 1011, the 10 is a little monster. Really does need some time. Killer juice. One of my favorite wines that I tasted all last year. The 11 is just a shade below that. There's only 540 cases of this, so maybe there's a little bit more of the 3 Acre here. But 100% new French oak treatment. The 11 showing that forward nature of this vintage. Some lovely cassis and currant espresso, bitter chocolate, cigar box spice. Just incredible complexity and density in this Elevation wine. Very similar to the 3 Acre, but to me, just a shade more concentrated and rich. And the 10 won my vote for this evening, but the 11 also most excellent juice. That's what we had to drink with our good friend David Arthur Long at Cafe Max, and Oliver Saucy and Eric Saucy, yes, the junior Saucy, putting out the Spatzel, and really awesome dinner, everything fantastic, and we can't wait to see David again next year. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.